All right, welcome to Detroit Lions News Podcast. I'm your host, Joe Chap, along with my co-host Tyler. Tyler, say hi to the people.
What up, man? Hey. Lots to talk about this week. Shit.
You know, I do love doing the podcast when we have something joyful to talk about.
Of course.
When we come in with the Bears beating the Lions, I'm not happy about that. And I don't think anybody's happy about it.
I mean, dude, I kind of had a feeling this may happen just because of the way they played us last time, and we were going to Chicago.
Yeah.
And to be fair, to not to not panic. Excuse me. The Lions usually do struggle at least one game against Chicago every year. It's just inevitable. For some reason, we have a hard time getting around Chicago.
Yeah.
And it's pretty. I'd like to say it's pretty normal for, divisional opponents to split in the year because you're very familiar with the team. You've been around them for years and years. You kind of they're kind of very close to the hip. So is it the end of the world? No. But I also don't agree with the people that are like, everything's fine. It's all good. It's fine. We saw what? We got our ass beat by the Bears. Everything's good. There are some areas of concern, but I understand that it's not the end of the world. We're still top of the division. We're still 9-4. We're still the third seed in the NFC. Everything's okay, but we can't be dropping games like this.
No, I don't think you can drop games like you did against the Bears. And the one thing that really ticked me off about the whole Bears game was that the offense just was not in rhythm. And it's been this way for a couple of weeks now. I mean, take away the Saints game, which they had a pretty damn good game. But the one thing I'm really getting pissed about, Tyler, and I don't know if you're getting pissed at this too, but this third quarter stretch where they don't score a point in the third quarter. Like eventually that's going to cost you because in the NFL, you can't go a full quarter, especially coming out of the half with the momentum when you went up 13-10. You can't come out of the half and lay an egg in the third quarter.
No, absolutely not. And I think there's a lot of people that are ranting and raving so much every week about our coaching staff and our coordinators. And honestly, I think Ben Johnson's still a good offensive coordinator. But it's if this doesn't shape up, man, it's starting to give me like Jim Bob Cooter flashbacks here. Like draw plays on 3rd and long, screen plays on 3rd and long. And for some damn reason, we cannot play a game with a fucking lead. Like we can't play a game with a lead. It's like as soon as we get up 2-3 scores, we're like, it's fine. Let's just sit back. You boys relax, kick your feet up. You want me to pour you a glass of wine? Would you like to just relax and maybe just kind of, read a book and just kind of hang out for the rest of the game? It's not a big deal. Like, no, keep the damn foot on the gas, dude. It seems like every single time we get a nice, comfortable lead, we, have got to get in, we get into this rhythm where we're like, we just become stupid. All the things we're doing in the first half, we're not doing anymore. It's either a lack of adjustments or it's too many adjustments in the wrong direction. And I'm starting to think it's the first one.
Yeah, well, Greg, my guy, Greg, he's a great guy. He says our overall play has been a concern since coming out of the bye week. He's right. And then he says, the third quarter has been killing us, no doubt. Here's the thing. Coming out of the bye week, they played the Chargers, right? They had a really offensive output, high output game. They come out of the Chargers game. They struggle with the Bears. They lose against the Packers. They go to New Orleans. They play a decent game. I think it's decent. I wouldn't say it's great. I wouldn't say it's good. I say it's decent because the third quarter had left a lot to desired, and you literally let them get back in the game. And then I look at the Chicago game and I go, okay, the first half where you made it 13-10, that was good. But for the rest of the game, third and fourth quarter, you didn't score a point. So at some point, you got to look at it and go, whose fault is it? Because if we look at it from a really realistic standpoint, you could look at Ben Johnson, you could look at Jared Goff, you could look at the offensive line, and you could look at the wide receivers. Because when I show you some of these stats, Tyler, that I'm about to show you, you're going to be wowed. Because I was wowed about some of these stats that I found these on the Pro Football Reference. Obviously, there was a lot to be desired. But first, the injury report for today, Taylor Decker, he might be out with the back injury. He didn't practice today, but today was a simulation practice. Benito Jones, limited practice. Frank Ragnar, limited practice. And a Hooker, full practice. So that's all you need to know. But when I show you these offensive stats, I think a lot of people are going to be like, what the hell? So here is your offensive stats. And this is the offensive issues that I really see with the just Detroit Lions team. Their drop percentage is 6.4, which is second most in the NFL. That's number one. Number two, time in the pocket, which offensive, correct me if I'm wrong, Tyler, but offensive line is supposed to be the strength of this freaking team.
Yeah.
21st in time in the pocket. 21st. And I'll go when I go down these last parts, you'll get what I'm trying to get at. So 104 pressures, that's 10th most in the NFL. So the Lions ranked 21st in pocket pressure among the bottom 11 teams. Only Jared Goff, Joe Burrow, and Tua have been sacked less. So that's you're avoiding the sack. Lions have allowed the 10th most pressures in the NFL. In the NFL top 10, only Mahomes, Goff, and CJ Stroud have their teams in playoff position. So right then and there, you know, this is not just a singular issue. This is becoming a really big issue. 11 players in the top in time in the pocket, the top player, you know, and the bottom 11 have at least 9 interceptions, with Desmond Ridder being the best of the 11. And in the 11, you have Josh Allen, you have Joe Burrow, you have Patrick Mahomes, and you have a lot of other guys. So when I show you that, what's the biggest stat that is kind of that gets you pissed off?
Well, I mean, they all have their areas, right? I don't always necessarily think the pressures, I mean, are necessarily on. I mean, yes, they're on the offensive line, but I feel like a lot of the time, like the evasiveness and the ability to step into the pocket or around the pocket, it can be a big part of it. The drop percentage is really tantalizing, especially because we're thought of to have one of the most reliable receiving cores. And honestly, the past couple games, somebody that has never really struggled with drops, Amon Ra, has been dropping a few balls, and I'm not sure. I don't know if there's something like I said, I still don't know if there's something going on with Goff or just his confidence or his timing. But ever since the Baltimore game, he looked like absolute shit, and he continued to kind of look like shit. And since then, and it is kind of curious of kind of what that's like. I know a lot of the stats you can easily say like, oh well, this is the offensive line, right? But when the quarterback's not getting rid of the ball effectively or efficiently or sliding up in the pocket efficiently, you start to have those issues. And what I kind of mean by that, and Jared Goff does this a lot, and I saw this a lot last game, and I'll try to kind of demonstrate. So when you're in the pocket, I feel like he has a hard time in the middle. So when he's on the snap, right, he gets pressure in the middle, he goes up and he gets crushed.
Yeah.
So he's fine on the sides, right? If he can kind of slip to the side, slip to the left, or slip to the right, and let the edge rushers come around him, he's fine. But when he gets rushed up the middle, instead of finding a way to kind of step back into the side or find another angle, when and another big part of that is missing Frank Ragnow, because now your right guard has to play center, and then some booty asshole has to play right guard. That dude sucks. So it does create a lot of issues, but what I do want to be able to see is either more effective checkdowns, more effective play calling, getting the ball out quicker, and being able to be somewhat movable in the pocket. I know Jared Goff will never be mobile in the pocket. He is not a mobile guy. He is not quick. He is not fast. The dude runs like he's got cinder blocks attached to his feet. And I understand that. I'm not calling for like we need a Lamar Jackson, we need a Michael Vick. We don't need, that's not what I'm saying. But if you can just find a little bit of way to shift and move, it seems like Goff has been so uncomfortable in the pocket these past 5 weeks. So uncomfortable. And you got to find a way to settle in and get comfortable, because you're not always going to have perfect protection. I mean, Desmond Ridder, he finally had some good protection last week, and the dude threw for 330 yards. Every quarterback in this league has talent, and they're able to put it together when they have solid offensive line play. I think more of the quarterback stats have something to do with the line than it does the actual quarterback, because a lot of these guys are professional football players. They know how to throw a ball.
Yeah. So I think you got to look at it from two angles. I think offensive line, like the pressures being 10th in the NFL, that's not good. Obviously, you would love to see that get ticked up, but the time in the pocket is the one I look at, because 2.1 seconds is not good enough. And the last time, I wish I would have made a graphic the last time I looked at the time in the pocket, because I think the last time I looked at it was after the Baltimore game, and it was 2.5. So you lost 0.4 since the Baltimore game, which is just astounding to me, which means that's how bad they've been playing. And when you look at the offense and when you look at the fact of the matter, like the Chargers game was pretty good for them, in my opinion. He didn't get much pressure, he didn't get sacked once. But besides that, like all these games that they played in, they have allowed teams to get pressure. They have allowed teams to get in Jared Goff's face. I know Frank Ragnow wasn't healthy, but at some point, you know, when you have a center like Frank Ragnow and he's getting injured, when the easiest place to collapse the pocket is the middle of the defense. You know, we're dealing with that right now with no Lee McNeil. Like we're hoping that Lee McNeil will be back by the playoffs. But it's funny when you look at it because my opinion is this. When I looked at those stats, I was astounded that we were number 2 in drop percentage, and I was astounded that we were 10th most in pressures. Like that's an amazing to me. But when you look at their other offensive stats, big play passes, they're 14th in the NFL. That's 20 yards or more, right? Passes dropped, they're 19 with 4th in the NFL.
Which by the way, I don't mean to cut you off or not let you continue, but if you remember correctly, I think we did a pod week 6 and we were second in the league in big play passes.
Yeah.
So we've dropped in 6 weeks, we've dropped from 2nd to 14th.
Yep. Receiving first downs, 167. They're 4th in the NFL. That's really good. And then percentage of receptions to first down is 53.8%, which that's really good. But when I look at those stats, like I don't know if it's you or me, Tyler, but that's the first thing I looked at. When we looked at it last time, I think it was like 6 weeks ago, we talked about the big play passes and how they were like 6th in the league. Now they're 14th. That's how far they've dropped from that spot. So there's got to be a fix to the offense. And you know, Walt, my guy who's on the Lions Avenue podcast or whatever, he said it along with me. Ever since that Baltimore game, teams have kind of got the script on what Detroit likes to do. Obviously, Detroit likes to put the receivers over the middle, Sam Laporta over the middle, and they really haven't adjusted to throwing to the outside. They really have, and I think that Jared Goff can do it when he's shown that he can do it. I just think that Ben Johnson, in my opinion, when I look at the all 22 and all that stuff, like I'll give you my access code, Tyler. You can go look at it too, because I signed up for the account. But when I looked at it, there was a couple of passes where like they had all the same receivers going to the same part of the field. Like I've never seen that. And then, you know, obviously we all think Ben Johnson's a head coach candidate, you know, pretty soon, but the way that he's coaching, I mean, it's getting pretty. First of all, I don't know what you think, Tyler, but that 4th and 1 play, I wanted to throw myself through the TV.
The super obvious one where it took us 15 seconds to hand the ball off to Jameer, who was there to stop him.
Who does a delay on 4th and 1? That's what I was trying to figure out. Like I can't remember the last time. Usually you get the tush push, or you get a fullback or a halfback that, you know, a running back that like goes up the middle and just jams it up in there. But a delay.
Yeah, you could do a quick dive to Montgomery, or you know, a QB sneak, or even if you want to do a play action rollout, pitch out, something, you know, something where you can get some short yardage, or you know, even if you do want to do a pass from drags and some short routes. But yeah, that. The delay on 4th and 1 against a team who has really improved their defensive front.
Yeah,
it doesn't make any sense, man. These guys need to get their heads out of their asses. I'm not saying it's easy to call a game, right? Or it's like, oh, you know, why don't you do it? Like, I understand it's tough, and these guys are trying to do their best, but at the same time, like, this makes me less worried about, because I do feel like, you know, this is something that Dan Campbell can kind of get the ship righted, and I think it's kind of a little bit more Dan's offense anyways. So, like, I'm not super, you know, kind of like you've talked about that. I'm not in a panic about losing him like a lot of people are, but we have to switch it up, man. We can't be running the plays we're running. It's if you, like, every time the third quarter comes around, I literally shake my head and throw the remote and go, okay, you know, call up this quarter.
You could literally go to your favorite food establishment and you won't miss a thing. Now the defense might give up a touchdown, but but you're not going to miss anything on offense. The Lions don't score in the third quarter. And if there's something that needs to be fixed in the next couple weeks, it's scoring in the third quarter, because that is the major kind of emphasis that I'm going to put on Saturday's game against Denver. And obviously we're going to do our picks later in the week, but Saturday is a huge game for those teams. Like, they need to get it together, and I need third quarter points. And you cannot allow Denver to get the mojo and get the crowd out of it. That's one of the things that I'm the most worried about. But I think a lot of people. Also, let's get to the comments. There's a couple of comments we got. Sometimes it's hard to hit the ball downfield when you're being pressured as a quarterback. That's true. Teams have figured out pressuring Goff is the key to stopping this offense. His defenses are not afraid of the deep throws and are creeping up to the line. Got to take some shots. I agree. Rotating our offensive linemen because of injuries has added to missed opportunities, I'm sure. Rotating, you've had a revolver door of offensive line, and it would be nice if there was a guard that's while Ragnall's out, if you could have a guard that could step up like Oshika did last Sunday, that would be ideal, because I think part of it has been the rotating guards, to be honest.
I mean, it definitely is hard, but I also feel like look, at some point, like, every team in the league, like, you're not going to be healthy.
Right.
That's the thing that's tough, is that the part that is limiting to us is because, like, we all said, like, hey, look, we don't necessarily need a super mobile quarterback. Goff's fine, his arm's fine, his this and that. But you're starting to see why the opposition. And the reason for that is because, like, sometimes when it does break down, but you have a guy that's either the sloth behind center, or a guy that evade or move around whatsoever, it does get difficult to extend plays. And I think that's what the excitement is about some of those mobile quarterbacks. Like, If you watch Justin Fields, we crashed the pocket on him multiple times. What does he do? He finds a way to slip out crossing route, or take off for 10, 12 yards, get the first down, boom, keep the chains moving. There's not many athletes in this league at that position, and I totally understand that. And it's definitely easier to get worse at quarterback than it is to get better. And I'm not saying this isn't still Goff's team or that he won't get an extension, but if he continues to play this way and we continue to lose games we shouldn't lose, the question will open up. It's inevitable. And you kind of have to. I mean, do you want to? I don't know. Do you? I don't know what they're going to do. Especially, like, if we were to lock up the playoffs and we still have, like, the last game, right? Throw Hendon Hooker in there, see what he can do. See if he can like an NFL offense. I'm not saying he's the answer. I'm not saying replace Goff. See what he looks like the last week or two, and see if we get some of that, going. If we're a lock in the playoffs, but I don't think Hooker is the answer right now. Just his arm's not ready. His IQ is adaptation to the game is not ready right now. But if Jared Goff continues to play this way for the rest of the year, this is my opinion. I don't know what you think about it. I think you have to think real long and hard about to do the extension, how much you're going to do the extension, or if he plays really bad, are we going to offer an extension? I mean, we were sure of it the first 8 weeks, but if we want to be serious about being a team that can compete, I mean, you have to think about it, because this dude is like, I think he's a great guy, and I still think he's a great quarterback, but he looks like he's been shit in the bed pretty bad since the Baltimore game. I mean, and you can't afford to have 6 week stretches of shit play. I mean, you can't.
I cannot deny that he has looked like crap since the Baltimore game. What I can say, though, is he has 4 games to make it up in the regular season, and then he's going to have playoff games. And a lot of people, they look at Hendon Hooker and they're like, "That's the future of the team." Well, I want you to do a deep dive research if you're a Hendon Hooker fan. How many quarterbacks outside the first round have been a hit? You're going to find a bunch of quarterbacks that have not been a hit, and you're going to find a bunch of quarterbacks that were nothing, that were they were overhyped. One of the guys that I loved a couple years ago, I think it was like 4 or 5 years ago, was Bryce Petty from Baylor. And he went to the Jets and he showed his ass. And, you obviously have these anomalies like Brock Purdy and Russell Wilson and Dak Prescott guys like that, Will Levis, because was Will Levis really a second round pick because it was like the first day, the second day they did it. But I just look at it like this: Goff has an opportunity to be better. I looked at his stats and I literally said, okay, he's not as bad as it looks. Now I got these ready to go, but Jared Goff is eighth in touchdowns, eighth in completion percentage, eighth in quarterback rating. His on target rate is sixth in the NFL. His bad throw percentage is 14%, which is 15th in the NFL. His intended air yards is 3,152, which is 15th in the NFL. Completed air yards per completion is 10th in the NFL, and his air yards is third in the NFL. So when I look at those stats, there's a couple of things that stand out. The air yard stands out, the completed air yard stands out, and the quarterback rating stands out. And I know he's turned over the ball. The turnover has got to stop. And if he continues to turn it over, you're going to have to go in another direction. The issue with going,
I was gonna say, I think what's concerning is like since week 7, he's got 10 touchdowns, 7 interceptions, 5 fumbles, and 15 sacks. So like, it's not like the overall play. And I think this is why what Rams fans, and correct me if I'm wrong or finish your thought. I just think that it's the thing that's frustrating. I think that Goff fans or people like Rams fans or people that they were upset with is not that Jared Goff is bad, but is he going to be weeks and then shit for 4 weeks and then great for 3 weeks and then shit for 4 weeks? Like he's got to work on that consistency. And I think that was a big from hearing from Rams fans and seeing on Twitter and seeing stuff online. It wasn't like, is the talent there? It's Kirk Cousins conundrum. What Kirk are you going to get this week? Are you going to get the guy that looks like a damn MVP, or are you going to get the guy that goes out there and just totally shits the bed and looks like the worst quarterback in the league? And so like even if he doesn't play to his best, and that's if your quarterback's not on, you have to figure out a way to change the game plan. Because but I will give it to him. There are games where there was that one game, I think it was either not the Bears, it was the Saints or another game. He had like 300 touchdowns, but if you watch the game, he just looked off. He looked like shit. His rhythm was off. His confidence was off. His swagger was off. So, like I said, I don't think the question is the talent there. It's just like you can't have 4, 5, 6 weeks where you just disappear. Like have a bad game, have 2, but at some point you gotta cut it down and like, okay, I had a bad week. I had 2 bad weeks. We're gonna right the ship and get it done. Like you can't have the huge roller coaster at an MVP and then 6 weeks looking like Mitch Trubisky. It's just you got to be able to find a way to be consistent.
Yeah, the way I look at it like this is like, okay, he's played, I think over the last 25 games, I think he's played 5 bad games, and 4 of them have came in this stretch. So am I going to look at it and go, maybe this is an anomaly? Perhaps. Jalen Hurts is also having this kind of year. I think him and Goff are tied with interceptions and tied with fumbles. They're the most turnovers in the league, both him and Jared Goff. The difference between Jalen Hurts is he can make things happen with his feet, and Jared Goff cannot afford to turn over the ball like Jalen Hurts. If a guy like Jalen Hurts turns over the ball, 18 times, that's going to hurt, but it's not going to hurt because eventually he's going to scramble outside the pocket and he's going to make someone pay with his legs. And Jared Goff's not going to do that. He has to do it with his arm, and that's the way it goes. And when you have a pocket quarterback, I know a lot of people think like if you have a pocket quarterback that's such old school, but there's still a reason for pocket quarterbacks. And I think that we're going to start to see over the next 10 years that some of these pocket quarterbacks are going to make a comeback, because the way you're seeing some of these quarterbacks coming in at the NFL with this mobility and everything, sometimes I think they rely too much on their feet.
And I can see where you're coming from there. I think, like I said, when I watch teams, even with bad quarterbacks, but they have elite offensive line play, and these guys just ball out, it feels like the more important than the quarterback behind the line. And when the thing that makes a quarterback special is how well can he do when shit's breaking down. How well can he do when he's got a backup guard, a backup tackle, he's getting killed. And I think you see that from time to time. You see that all the time with guys like, Russell Wilson in the past, Patrick Mahomes, Aaron Rodgers, and these guys are obviously special, right? They're generational guys.
to be fair, we did see that in the Tampa Bay game where everything pretty much broke down and it was all Goff pretty much.
Yeah,
But
and so and we just got to continue that trend of seeing like when things aren't right, like so many times, and I don't know if it's just a confidence thing or just a not knowing what to do things. I've seen so many times where instead of trying to extend that play or to try a throw or to do something, Goff just looks like a deer in headlights. He just tucks down, shits the bed, and falls down and shits himself. And it's like, man, like I'm not worried about the arm talent. I'm worried about the ability to extend the slightest bit because when he's got a clean pocket, I don't know if there's much better of a quarterback in the whole league. The guy can throw. He's got great, he's got great accuracy. I mean, he threw a ball last week like he threw it before the receiver was cutting and got it in a window between three guys. It was one of the craziest throws I had ever seen. I think it was the throw to Donovan Peoples-Jones. Through the middle of the field. I've never seen anything like that in live time. Beauty, but what are we going to be able to keep it alive? And that doesn't fall on Ben Johnson too. I see some people commenting about Michael Southwood. If you want to pop that up, talking about calling it sucked. I mean that's a really big part of it. It's the one at 641. How many turnovers are Goff winging downfield, hoping fourth down, etc. If Ben would attack and allow us to play with the lead, Ben's play calling has sucked. Goff's been getting killed every time he drops back. Ben has to help the O-line with hurry up. And I agree with that too, because this is more than just Jared Goff. This is on the coaching, this is on the tempo, this is on the offensive line. So we got to figure something out.
I think you got to figure it out fast because the teams that you got coming in, Tampa Bay, not Tampa Bay, Denver can rush the passer. Minnesota can rush the passer. We know Dallas can rush the passer. And those are your final four games. But what I do think, now E. Kenna said this on YouTube. He says, if Goff wins a playoff game, extend. If not, give him the yank. And I could certainly see that, and I can agree with that because I think that's a really a good way to put it. I'm going to address this one. Chris says, you do know Hooker would have been a first-round pick if he didn't tear his ACL. First and second-round quarterbacks haven't panned out either. This is what I'm saying. If you go look at the hit rate of quarterbacks drafted after the first round, it is really, really bad. This is a league that's so bad with quarterbacks. So God bless his heart, my little protege, Tommy DeVito, over there, the Italian stallion, the New Jersey boy. I mean, he's not a starting quarterback, but he looks a lot better than some of these starting quarterbacks in the NFL. I mean, the reality of the situation is the starting quarterbacks in this league it's probably the worst it's ever been. It's probably the worst it's ever been. I mean, you got Desmond Ridder starting for Atlanta. You got look at that NFC South. The whole division sucks in terms of quarterbacks. I mean, you don't think Hendon Hooker would be great with the Atlanta Falcons or the Tampa Bay Buccaneers with Mike Evans and Chris Godwin? Like if teams really thought that there was a first round grade on Hendon Hooker, they would take the chance on the kid, especially a team like Tampa Bay who that could be their backup to Baker Mayfield. That's what I look at. Like I think a lot of people, and I know me and Tyler, we've been doing this podcast for a while now. We're going on 2 years. We all remember the Malik Willis hype. We all remember that. We all remember there was a certain network out there that wanted to draft Malik Willis at number 2, and he went to the third round.
Crazy.
Okay, so
that's crazy, bro.
Sometimes when people say that they have a first round grade, if it's Mel Kiper or anyone like that, just dismiss it because it's not really real. I mean, Malik Willis obviously it showed that the only quarterback they took in that first round was Kenny Pickett. And
Kenny Pickett is dog shit, bro.
Well, I read a stat that Joe Flacco had more touchdown passes than Kenny Pickett in one game. I was like, what the hell, dude? Like, you got to be kidding me.
Bro, he has 1.5% of his throws have been for a touchdown in his career. And that is
I mean, if you had to think about it, like if you thought about it realistically, like Kenny Pickett's one of those quarterbacks that you go, okay, He's really freaking bad, dude. He is really bad. Michael Southwood has a good comment. He says Goff's success depends on the left tackle play. Watch tape. Decker getting owned over and over. Yeah, that's something I really do think is a big issue is Taylor Decker. I mean, week in and week out, he's just getting destroyed in the pass protection. At some point you're gonna have to think about moving Penei Sewell to left tackle and then maybe making a change at right tackle. Someone Facebook user from probably the One Pride Nation group, he says the Broncos run defense is pretty bad. I think they are ranked 31st against the run. Do you guys think that we will see a heavy dose of the run game Saturday versus Denver? Maybe a run heavy offense could help limit Goff's turnovers. I think that you are going to see a lot of the run game against
what the problem is though is like, can Ben Johnson get his head out of his ass and call play action at the right time? And can we get the thing? It seems like we either do run up the middle screen, run up the middle pass. It's like, get some sort of flow and get something that's not so predictable. I'm starting to get pissed off about dude. Williams has been blocking. He's been playing hard in practice. He's been working his ass off. He's been running, he's been a good team player, and he still somehow manages to only get, if you look at this dude's stat sheets the whole year, two catches, 1 catch. That is his season so far. Get the damn ball in his hands and give it a shot, dude. He hasn't had a drop in 6 games. For the people that want to scream J-Mo's the drop, drop since week 7. So get off his ass and try to find a way to get this guy the ball. You've seen what happened when we gave him the ball in the end around, and the guy scored a touchdown because he's lightning in a bottle. But I don't know, man. It's just get ball in the right guy's hands and make some stuff happen. Our offense is looking so elementary right now. It just looks so lame. Predictable as hell. Predictable as fuck. Seriously.
Predictable. And here's the thing about it. I agree with you on the deep shots. Like, are we ever going to run a play action pass where we do a play action pass and someone's going deep? Is it either Reynolds or Jameson Williams, or maybe it's Laporta on a crossing route
or whatever?
Yeah, anything that could get the defense off balance, because what I hate seeing from Ben Johnson, this is what I've talked to you about this a billion times, Tyler. We were texting back and forth. You're like, AG's dog shit, which, we'll talk about that later. But anyways, but I was like, no, Ben Johnson is. Because what I see from him is, okay, they have a great running game. Your run game can dictate the pass. And eventually you're going to catch a safety moving up too much, and he's going to get burnt. And that's the thing that I don't like about Ben Johnson. I don't think that he is doing a good enough job mixing the play action up with these deep shot passes, at least 1 a quarter. If Jared Goff misses a pass, then we can learn a lot more about Jared Goff. But we're not even seeing him go deep like he has. Like, is it Jared Goff hurt? Or because we've seen a lot more passes like last year, deep shots, with no Jameson Williams.
I keep saying it until it's gonna come out, and I'm gonna tell everybody I freaking told you so. Ever since, dude, that Baltimore game, I've never seen Jared Goff throw that bad. All his throws were ducks. None of them were spirals. He looked horrible, and I kept saying either he's hurt or he's going through some shit mentally, big time. Something is going on, because this dude. Boom, I went from being super elite MVP front runner type of shit. Probably not because of the media. But all of a sudden, bottom 5, can't throw. The spirals aren't tight off. Like, something happened. I don't know if they tried integrating different guys in too much and they tried doing too much, or what Ben Johnson is trying to do is just not aligning with it. Because, bad play calling can make you look kind of like shit too. But something happened in the Baltimore game, and I wish I had an insight or knew what it was, because something changed, and we have looked like shit since then. Even the game where we were supposed to look good against the Saints, we should never let the Saints come back from a 21-point to almost beat us. That is insane. It's the Saints.
No, I agree with you there. Is there an injury with Jared Goff? Because my whole thing about it is, they're not attacking deep for a reason. And we've seen Jared Goff throw deep before. It's not like we haven't seen him throw a deep ball to Amon-Ra St. Brown or Josh Reynolds or all of the
This
above.
dude hasn't thrown it deep in 4 weeks.
That's what I'm saying.
You're right.
There's something wrong. Like, there is something wrong.
Be.
Like, you can't tell me that an offensive coordinator wouldn't throw a deep shot at least once in, 2 weeks.
And if there is nothing wrong, then Ben Johnson needs to go to prison for not at least attempting one deep shot in 4 fucking weeks.
Especially when you have wide receivers like Khalif Raymond who can get separation. You got Jameson Williams who can get separation. You got Sam Laporta who can run deep routes. I've seen Sam Laporta run some great deep routes that he was wide open. And
I've seen Amon-Ra get some crazy deep routes.
But I think it's something to be said though, Tyler. I think we're hitting on something that we're not even really. I think most people aren't realizing. There has to be a reason that they're not throwing deep. Because I see players open on the all 22, and I go, why didn't they throw there? If Jared Goff is indeed hurt, that's probably the reason. And if Jared Goff is hurt, I mean, well, number one, how much would Teddy Bridgewater help, or how much would Hendon Hooker help at this point? Because, like, if Jared Goff is literally hurt, I mean, I think that's part of it. But we're not going to speculate. But the way that they're not throwing deep, I mean, it's either Ben Johnson's an idiot or it's Jared Goff is hurt. So let's pick one or the other.
Yeah. No, absolutely. So somebody, Facebook user, remember to put your name on there. Could the cold weather and him affecting gloves have an effect on Goff throws in Chicago? Absolutely. Goff hit in Chicago in the cold weather. He throws like shit at home. And also, I don't know if I've ever seen him wear gloves. Maybe one other time. What the hell?
I've seen him wear gloves before, but he's thrown some ducks at home, though. That's what I'm trying to get at. Is like he's thrown some wobbly passes at home. Like I remember when you watched the Tampa Bay game, like he was throwing some tight balls, and the Green Bay game dots, and then the Baltimore game happened, and then you're seeing the Vegas game, and then you're seeing that obviously the Charger game he had a great week. That was after
Chicago the first time got picked off
Chicago
3 times.
The first time. Chicago, Green Bay, and then New Orleans. He didn't look all that great, and then you go to Chicago again. Like that's some of the things you can look at. Roy brings up a good one. He goes, "I'd like to see J-Mo and Gibbs in motion pre-snap early and often. It confuses the defense and makes them move from side to side before the play even starts." Tyler, this is what I'm talking about, dude.
We do nothing to confuse the defense anymore. Nothing.
That's exactly. Good job on Roy's part, because this is something that I just don't understand for the life of me. And I tell you this every week, and you're probably sick of hearing it. Like I'm sick of hearing your Aaron Glenn hate, but we'll get to that later. But no, it's like why doesn't he has these guys like Jahmyr Gibbs and Jameson Williams who are they're matchup nightmares. Like they're fast, they're skilled, and at any point in time they could break it open. So use these guys to your advantage. Even Laporta. I think if you started motioning Laporta around, maybe throw him in the backfield and he comes out of the backfield, like you know how bad that would really screw with the defense? Like I think there's some of the things that you can wrinkle in that are going to screw with these defenses. And Roy brought up a good point. They don't never do a pre-snap early. There's no J-Mo doing a pre-snap. There's no Gibbs doing a pre-snap. I've rarely seen Dave Montgomery and Jahmyr Gibbs in the same backfield. I mean, that would be nice to see. So, theory. This is from Michael Southwood. He says, Ben Johnson is sandbagging Goff, so we will be willing to trade him once Ben leaves to a new team to give us 2 first-rounders. Well, Mike, here's the thing. If he goes to the Chargers, he's not trading for Jared Goff. And if he goes to the Carolina Panthers, they are definitely not trading for Jared Goff, because Jared Goff, I mean, they put a big-time investment into Bryce Young and Justin Herbert, and that was it.
Yeah.
Roy says before the season started, Ben Johnson said he would be using Gibbs in ways you wouldn't expect, and I haven't seen any of that yet. That's exactly what we're talking about. We haven't seen nothing that we haven't seen before.
And I'm starting to wonder if maybe there's some rifts between Ben Johnson and Dan Campbell. I mean, I know Dan Campbell's kind of more old school. He kind of comes from like the Bill Parcells coaching tree down the line a little bit. They back in the day, you could just punch it in over and over and over again. Dan Campbell seems like a hard nosed, like just run it through their gut until they're bleeding type of guy. But like to completely creativity or trickery or like in true or like advanced route trees or anything. It's like we even last year when we went on our bid of the year, we were doing all sorts of fun shit. And then
Yeah.
we add two guys that are super crazy, game breaking, top speed weapons, and all of a sudden we're just like, I don't know, let's chuck some shit in the middle or let's just run times. It's like, so they have a lot to talk about, and I guarantee that's being discussed. And like I said, I don't know if there's any rifts between some of the coaches, or like you said, or like we just said, maybe possibly an injury or a lack of a creative mindset right now, because it seems like sometimes when you try to get conservative because you're trying to protect a lead or protect a division lead, it can hurt you because you're playing too safe. I think we need to break it open a little bit. We need to figure like bust this thing open. And you need to be able to be creative and free flowing and have fun. These guys don't look like they're having fun these last 4 weeks. They look fucking miserable.
They're not looking the same fun that they had early in the season. And that's something I've noticed, and I think a lot of people are starting to notice. But it's strange because Dan Campbell
There's a
comes
lot of
from the
pressure, man. It takes a lot of pressure to win in this league. Like, hey,
yeah.
it'll get to you. But now it's getting serious. You can't let the pressure.
Well, you're going to be playing some good defenses, so you cannot afford to, be kind of predictable. And Ken Fisher says, Ken Fisher, he says, I disagree with that statement about Gibbs to a point. He did drop a sure touchdown pass on a little wheel route to the right out of the backfield against the Bears last week. And yeah, he did. But you know what happens? If you give that ball to him one or two more times, he's taking it the distance. That's what I'm talking about. When you have guys like Jahmyr Gibbs and Jameson Williams, you have to give them the ball. When we give Amon-Ra St. Brown the ball, he makes teams pay with his route running, with his agility, with his way to get open. If you give Jahmyr Gibbs and Jameson Williams the ball, I mean, they are so young and they're so fast and they're so skilled. If you give them you give them 5 or 6 chances, right? I guarantee
You
you
have
one of
to.
them. I guarantee one is going to go in the end zone.
Well, it's like, I mean, the guy. I don't remember the exact stat. I was looking it up. It was something crazy, like the yards and per touch that they get. It is a funny comment. Your Italian stallion threw the Lions fans a bone last night. Yeah, Tommy DeVito put the Packers in their place. But what I'm like, there's some crazy stat going, and like I said, I would have to double check, and so don't quote me on this. But it's like he is up near the top of the league in like yards and opportunity, or yards per like opportunity and per, like when he gets to touch the rock, this dude is damn near every like 4 times he's touching the rock, he's getting either a touchdown or like a 25-yard or more gain. So like you just got to find a way the ball in the guy's hands. I mean, we talked about it over and over again. What's it look like when he's playing 50 or 60 snaps? Well, now he is, but the weird thing is he's playing 60 snaps and the dude's doing a whole lot of cardio out there, and he's been open. He's had opportunities, and the plays aren't designed around him or to really get him the rock. It's like, JMO was wide ass open on like a deep in route or like a middle in route last week, and we threw and Goff had time, and he was a shitty 4-yard check down to Brock Wright. And again, are you scared to throw it? Is your arm hurting? Is your shoulder hurting? Is there something that you're not seeing? Like, what's going on? Because if you watch the film, JMO's been getting open a lot more lately, and he's been doing well. And he's doing everything the coaching staff is asking for him. He's blocking. He's playing hard. He's working the middle of the field. Like, he's not dropping the ball. Like, reward the damn guy. Get the fucking ball in his hands, man.
Yeah,
I'm so strong about this opinion, but it pisses me off.
No, I just think that something needs to happen, because I know that this team right now needs a kind of like a jump start. They need a jump start. They need something that's going to get them going. Let's get to the defensive stuff right now, because there's a lot of defensive comments, so I want to get to this. The first comments from the Facebook user. Now leave your name. Oh, Dan Davis, Mike. See, thank you for leaving your name. It says, what do you guys think the problem is with the defense is? Is it personnel? Is it scheme? Aaron Glenn, or all of the above? What needs to happen for this defense to be better, Dan?
I have a huge opinion on this, but if you want to go first, I'll follow you up.
No, I'm gonna let you roll with this because I know you have a huge opinion.
I think. Hold on, I'm trying to find it. I was just the other day. Hang on, shit. You go
Are you
ahead.
looking for defensive stats?
Yes.
I got some defense stats on the board right here.
No, I'm looking for the defensive snap count for these guys last game.
Okay.
It's the weirdest fucking thing I've seen in a let me see.
Well, here's what I think. I think that the defense has a personnel problem. That's number one. I think when you look at it, yeah, go.
Okay, sorry. I was just saying that so yes, personnel problem. You were starting, and that's what kind of made me made me go off on this, right? So last week, dude, things are weird, right? So if he has 70, and then you got guys like Brian Branch who had like 35% of the snaps, right? There's shit going down that doesn't look right, man. Like there's something that's going on. So like the weird, like the weirdest. So like if he having 99% of the snap count last week, but then a guy like Jack Campbell having 50%, and also you got Brian Branch who had 35%, and then you also got guys like Cam Sutton who only had. Actually, I think he had a majority week, but it was the week before he had like 70% snaps. Jerry Jacobs, 75% of the snaps, and 45% of those snaps were on the number one target and receiver. I don't know what he's doing personnel wise. I think he's trying to get desperate and switch it up, which I can kind of applaud him for that because you got to try shit. But it's just strange because it seems like every week some of our best players or guys who are playing really, really well are getting these very odd snap counts. Like I said, one that was weird last week. So Tracy Walker is 0%, Kirby Joseph 55%, and Brian Branch 35%. And those are arguably three of your best five players. You can't have that. That doesn't make sense.
The one thing I can say about that is I think that if Fatu Melifonwu played a really damn good game.
And he did, he deserved to play.
The one thing I can say about Tracy Walker is his completion percentage is absolute trash. I think it's in the 120s. And then quarterback rating is in the 120s. I know that for sure. Brian Branch is the same way. I mean, he's getting completed on a lot. So what I think that he's trying to do is I think that he's trying to get all these guys involved because we're going to need all these guys. And if we get Chauncey Gardner-Johnson back, having that depth of you can bring in Ifeatu Melifonwu, you can bring in Tracy Walker at a point or Brian Branch, I think he's trying to mix it up to figure out what kind of is going to work because we have a problem with this defense, especially with the Lee McNeil being out with an injury. That's a huge loss. So to lose the Lee McNeil, that's not good for this team, especially a team that can't pass rush anyways. So I think anything you try to do, you try to throw stuff at the board, Trace, Ifeatu Melifonwu, or you get someone else to come in. I think Aaron Glenn's been dealt with a hard hand. And I think that if we look at the offensive coordinator versus defensive coordinator, you would go, okay, who has more talent and who's doing more with less? And I think that's Aaron Glenn.
Kind of, but like the things that make it like weird for me, especially with like regarding Glenn, is like, and I don't know, and this is why I'm saying this because I don't know if it's like there's communication errors in the secondary between the players, or it all falls on him. Because in my mind, there's no reason Jerry Jacobs should be on an island one-on-one with DJ Moore with no safety help. That does not make any fucking sense at all.
Well,
and again, I don't know if that's communication error. I don't know if Sutton is supposed to be over there loud and there's shit going on and there's communication errors. That very well may be the issue. But if it's designed for Jerry Jacobs to be one-on-one with no safety help on DJ Moore, God help us.
The sad part to all that, Tyler? The sad part to this is before the last couple weeks, Jerry Jacobs has had a rough one. But if you look before those past 3 weeks, Jerry Jacobs was a better corner compared to Cameron Sutton. I think his completion percentage was like in the 60s, and now it's in the 70s over a 3 week span. But I think that Jerry Jacobs has been doing much better in coverage than Cam Sutton. I think the stats prove it out, and it's kind of wild because
but you also have to understand when guys are starting to play poor too. Like Jerry Jacobs, the last few weeks have been very down.
Yeah, and I think Roy hits on a good one. He says so many defensive players are injured. Mosley going down was a crucial because Jerry Jacobs was not supposed to be a starter. Ikenna says draft all D next year, which I agree with. The defensive scheme is way too zone based, cover 2 and 3. It's way too easy to scheme against. I agree with that. They put someone on Jacob for some snaps last game, and he graded out well. Forget his name. I think that's he's a kid that they picked up from Chicago. I know what you're talking about. Name's escaping me too. Ken Fisher says playing effing 10 yards off the receiver when it's 3rd down and 5 is ridiculous too.
100%. That's a huge problem I have with Glenn is he sags off and leaves the middle of the field open. It's 3rd and 5, 3rd and 4, and he's got guys playing 10 yards off with safeties back even further, and either linebackers blitzing or just staying down there on an island with a thumb in their butt. Dude.
If there's one thing,
how much is it on the players though? Because you're supposed to be able to communicate like an NFL player, and Aaron Glenn can only do so much being a coach. It's not like he can go out there and put the damn pads on himself. I get that,
right.
So it's like step up and be elite. Anzalone played good.
Yeah, it's the cornerback we picked up from Chicago is Kinde Vildor, and that's from Dan Davis. Thank you, Dan. That's a guy, Vildor. That's what it was. I knew it was some kind of weird V name, so, and I didn't want to say Virgin or something. That would have been kind of derogatory. But we were talking about the defense. And we well, I gotta hold up. I gotta get rid of this comment. The defense they're tied for 24th in sacks. That's not good enough. 25th in points, 21st in yards per play, 26th in turnovers forced, 24th in scoring drives ending in a touchdown, 26th in drives ending in a turnover, and 20th in expected points. And the one thing I've noticed from this, Tyler, is they aren't forcing turnovers like they did last year. They are not forcing turnovers like they did last year.
And it's weird because I don't know if there is a communication issue or like something stalled out. I don't know because it's strange. And I think next year is going to be a trench build, and this shit's got me riled up, and I've a couple times interrupted or cut you off, and I apologize. I am just also pissed off because we are 9 team, and we should be 10-3, probably even 11-2, and we've got the talent. And it's like we've drafted and built this thing up. Part of me also is maybe thinking that we're a little bit too harsh because I don't think this team was supposed to be busy. And I think that sometimes it's unfair because we're not on the level of the Niners. We're not on the level of the Eagles. We're not on the level of some of these big competing teams. But I think we're playing ahead of schedule right now. But that's in my opinion. If you're going to play that way, like why let it slip away? Why do the thing that bothers me is that some of these coaches, and it's a lot easier to say this from my couch,
right?
But it seems like the thing that is the obvious you should do, that somebody at home eating a freaking Domino's pizza, watching the game on TV can call out, and you struggle to see it, and you get paid $4 million a year to see this as a coach. It's sometimes really freaking frustrating, man. Like, I don't know, I mean, we just so I'm trying to give us a little bit of grace and say that we're ahead of schedule, and we're probably being a little bit critical and harsh on them sometimes, or at least I am sometimes.
Right.
But at the same time, don't squander it. Like we have an opportunity to do something really special. Like we need to stay sharp and stay on top of it. And it seems like sometimes they just go out there and they look clueless or stupid. It's like you guys have been playing football and coach entire lives, man. Like can Detroit sports for once just do the obvious thing ever? Not even obvious, but like the thing that you should do. It's like the 4th down call, right? Who in the hell the 32 coordinators in NFL is not going to run a freaking delay on 4th and 2 on your own 40.
Like, don't get me started. That was the dumbest. That was one of the dumbest.
What are you doing?
That was so stupid. You know, I kind of look at this and I go, okay, we got the Lions here, right? And the Lions are having a good year, but there's obviously some things that they need to do, which I wasn't happy the way they attacked the trade deadline. And I heard from people that maybe there's perhaps a chance that Martin Mayhew didn't want to deal with Detroit, which is stupid, but screw that guy. But you know, when I talk about this, though, you know, when we talk about the general manager and the roster construction, I know that the Lions defense is hurt, okay? But why did we draft Broderick Martin if he's not going to play considerable snaps?
Exactly.
He's not playing enough. Why did we draft Hendon Hooker when we know that we have a quarterback? Like, I'm wondering, because what would have really helped this team is if we had a Byron Young from the LA Rams. He's a really good defensive end from the LA Rams, or their defensive tackle who sits next to Aaron Donald and Kobe Turner. Like, I remember you were high on Kobe Turner and you wanted Kobe Turner, and I was like, oh, you know, that'd be a pretty good pick. And then when the draft happened, you're like, who the fuck is this Broderick Martin guy? And I'm like, well, he's a pretty good player. He's a project, but I like the long term of what Broderick Martin can be, right?
Sure, but you're gonna trade up for what you used to get him and then not even play him at all, like.
But the short term, what does it do? Because you didn't have any defensive tackle to help you out. Like, you expected Lee McNeil to be good, okay, cool, but we signed Isaiah Buggs. He's nowhere to be found. We signed, you know, we were waiting on Levi Onwuzurike to make a impact. He's not doing it. Like, at some point, you're gonna have to go outside the organization and go, okay, we're gonna have to go into free agency, or we're gonna have to go into the trade market and get a defensive tackle or get someone that's gonna help. Because the one thing you notice with all these Detroit teams, excluding the Red Wings, because they seem to be making the most deals right now, is when it's the off season, be effing aggressive. Be aggressive, man. Go out there, and if you see a guy, maybe he doesn't fit your team. Maybe he's a more off, you know, like in terms of Alex DeBrincat, right, for the Red Wings. He doesn't fit the Red Wings MO because he's an offensive type player. But you get him in the system and you put him in the system and you get him to go. You don't always have to go with the culture fit. You have to go with the best player, because what's happening right now is you're seeing guys like Benito Jones, and you're seeing guys like Levi Onwuzurike, and you're seeing guys like John Kaminsky. God bless his heart. You know, he had a good game last week, but we need to see more. These guys that are on this team, we need to see more.
We have a defensive line that's comprised of one guy who could be a star, potentially a superstar, and a bunch of guys who would struggle to make football teams around the league. Seriously, like we have
Pascal,
Onwuzurike, both Yakwaras. We have these dudes who literally would probably get cut from at least half the teams in the league, and it's embarrassing. Like, we need real talent on the line.
Michael brings up a good point. This is the guy that pisses me off the most. Josh Pascal. Where the hell are you? Where are you? And then Dan says Broderick Martin was a space-eating nose tackle at Western Kentucky. Big guy who eats up blocks. I think Martin having a hard time picking up AG's scheme, and that's why he's not played much. It could be it. That could be it, but you're a space-eating nose tackle. So at some point, just being out there can be something that you can do. Ikenna has a good comment. He goes, the life of a GM. Brett has had some diamonds, but he's also had some big swing and misses. And yeah, that's what you're going to do as a general manager. But at some point, you got to get aggressive outside the draft and get aggressive in the free agency market, the trade market, and go make those moves.
I think sometimes one thing that's a knock on Brad Holmes is, and you brought it up earlier about like the Hendon Hooker pick or the Broderick Martin pick or just some of these picks in general. I think the Broderick Martin pick, I think he was he had a Bob Quinn moment, and don't you guys come at me with pitchforks, but he had a Bob Quinn moment because he thought he was the smartest guy in the room with that pick. Even the guys, even watching the behind the scenes, the rest of the coach. Oh, yay, Broderick Martin. Like, they were confused as hell. And then the Hendon Hooker pick, I think sometimes he gets caught up on value. Like,
Yeah.
Hendon Hooker's supposed to be a first himself. I can't believe he fell to, pick 95. Let's trade up a couple spots and get him because he's just such a good value. Like, sometimes you can afford to let the value go. It's just not a good fit or it's not a big need. Like, if you're planning on Jared Goff being your guy, I don't know what the future is for Hooker. No one does. It's kind of confusing for us all. We don't know if he's planning on being a starter or if he's planning on turning into something. But
Or
we've
backup.
got if JG was our guy for good and we're gonna plan on extending him, then you're fine with having guys like Teddy Bridgewater be the backup. You're fine with that. Like, you don't need to go spend a third-round pick, 2 third-round picks, guy that hasn't played one snap, and another guy who is a 26-year-old quarterback coming off an ACL tear who had pretty much one good season in college. Like, don't let your like my note to Brad to him. Obviously, he would tell me to frick off because I'm just a dude that does a podcast. But don't get wrapped up in like the value pick because you're so excited that a certain guy you had graded. And I think that's where his scouting mind comes in. This guy 20th on my big board and he's there at 95. That's a crazy good deal. We should definitely go after him. Okay, but why?
That's a good point.
I think sometimes his scouting gets to the best of him because he's a fantastic Italian evaluator and a fantastic. But you have to think past that when you're making moves as the GM. You can't let that value, get to your head.
Yeah, Ikera has some good comments. I'm going to read them. He goes, yeah, a team full of Rudies can only take you so far, but having to blend talent and chemistry with talent, that's one.
That's a huge comment. That's a really good comment.
And then he says, and Brad needs to stop drafting dudes coming off injury. This is what I agree with. I mean, there's some players that you could take a chance on, but we've seen it with Pascal. We've seen it with Levi Onwuzurike. We're gonna see with Hendon Hooker. At some point,
the value. Oh, they dropped this far. Yeah, they dropped that far on purpose, Brad. They dropped that way because shredded the shit 6 months ago.
Yeah, I just think that the way that they're going about it, I think that the offseason could have been a little bit better. I think they're ruining the roost right now because obviously with the Lee McNeil out. I mean, last week I was talking about it Tyler, but look at Lee McNeil. I mean, Lee McNeil 87.9 Pro Football Focus grade, second among Lions defenders and fifth among all defensive linemen. That's a huge freaking loss. Like, it's a huge loss.
Yeah, that sucks.
But oh yeah, and he said, and he kind of says, and JMO lost a year, so that's kind of where you're at right now with this team, and it's tough to figure out, man. It's really tough to figure out.
Guy is not falling, but like, I mean, shit's starting to like hit you in the eye when you look up at this guy, right? Like, it's things that need to be that need to be addressed, that need to be talked about, and I think that what we do, talking to Lions fans everywhere and discussing that and breaking that down, it is really important because we have those open opinions and we kind of put I'd have to imagine that it does, earshot get back to them a little bit and they can at least kind of understand that there is an aura surrounding this, whether it be through media or through general public. Like, we want to see a winner. We want to see someone that owns up to their mistakes. And if it's obvious to a fan or to a podcaster or an analyst, then it's got to be obvious to the coaches and the players and the coaching staff. So, I really like talking about this kind of stuff, and I really do feel like creating that awareness and getting all the fans like on the same page. I do think it's a big role, man. So I just want to say that, like, I just feel like sometimes people get lost in saying that, hey, that opinion's silly or this or that doesn't matter. Like, to a certain extent, in the grand scheme of things, maybe not. But it's really nice to get all the fans kind of on the same page and let's address these things that we're struggling as a team because it helps keep the team accountable. And we're trying to be the brand new Lions, man. We're not trying to be the same old shitty Lions who blows a division lead or blows these games every year. It's just it's cool to sit back. I'm just kind of taking it all in, sit back and bullshit with you and take these comments in and bullshit with the fans here. And it's fun. And I still think the season's going to be a really successful season no matter what. Really, really hope that we can beat the brakes off the Vikings twice because I want to get a division title, man, for the first time in my life.
Well, if you're talking about Joshua Dobbs starting for the Minnesota Vikings, the Vikings are making a QB change. Nick Mullins will replace Joshua Dobbs, the starter. Sunday at
Tough.
Cincinnati, sources tell me, and rap sheet
Wait,
Mullins.
hey, wait a second, Joe. Wasn't everybody saying that Josh Dobbs was like him, bro? Like he was the astronaut, he was him.
I know a Vikings fan, okay, and he was telling me that Dobbs was like the real deal, and I was like, dude, I know Josh Dobbs, okay. I watched him at Tennessee. That's why when people argue with
The
me
week
about,
before that, he will have a game. Well, he will light it up, and then he will have a game where he throws 4 picks or 5 picks, bro. That's exactly what he did. You were a prophet. You were a Josh Dobbs prophet.
no, I just know these Tennessee quarterbacks. Like people act like I don't know Hendon Hooker. I know Hendon Hooker like the back of my head. Joshua Dobbs I know about because he had a successful year at Tennessee. There's games where he, like I said, there's games where he looks great and he can't miss, and then there's games where everything he throws is in the ocean, everything he throws, and he'll miss a wide open shot, and you're like, how did he miss that shot? Like, how did he miss that pass? And Nick Mullins making the start. I mean, Nick Mullins has a -3 yards rushing in his whole entire career, so he is not a mobile quarterback. And
Just a quick answer. Christopher said, "Who do you feel comfortable Jacobs covering, Judy or Sutton? Judy, please."
you Chris says that. Oh yeah, I got it. Who do you feel comfortable with, Jacobs? Neither.
Judy, please. Judy stinks. Please, like that guy. I'll never draft him in fantasy ever again. Holy shit.
I gotta tell you though, Cortland Sutton, he scares the hell out of me. He catches passes that I am just unbelievably like. I just don't understand how he catches them. Roy says, just once I want to hear Goff say, "Yeah, I sucked ass today," and they're not his that their defense played well. Look, Jared Goff is the way he is. Like he's gonna give credit to the guys, and he's been really forefront, especially in nights I want to take it with Carson Anderson. Kenneth says, despite the loss last week, I'm actually having more fun watching Lions this year since the days that Barry played. My wife is from Denver, so wish me luck this weekend. Yeah,
Good
hopefully
luck,
you can. Yeah, good luck, and hopefully you can get some hopefully she'll be sad, and then you can console her after the game. So Lions.
All right,
win.
man. Well,
All right, and then so final thoughts, Tyler. Let's get this show on the road. Michael says, "Have a good one. Let's go beat the Broncos. Let's go."
I mean, my final thoughts are just wrapping up everything. As basically, I'm not in panic mode. We still are a good football team. We still have a decent, comfortable lead in the NFC North, especially with Nick Mullins being the starter going forward. I'm not really worried unless we have a colossal meltdown. I'm not really worried about giving up the throne on the top of the NFC North. But we need to stay aggressive. We need to put our foot on the gas. And if we're not expected to play this good, let's take advantage of the opportunity. Let's win a playoff game. Let's win the division. Let's do something we haven't done in decades. Like, this is our chance to be something special and to show the rest of the league that we're here to stay. So, I don't want this team to be just a fun little flash in the pan. Oh, look, the shitty team, made it to the playoffs. Oh, it's like those stories that you see where it's like, oh yeah, the water boy who has like a physical disability made a 3-pointer, and that's great. Like, if it's a really feel good story, we love sports. Like, I don't want to have the Lions just be some like, run of the mill like Cinderella success story. It is that the shitty team in the league won a playoff game or won 10 games one year. Like, I want people to take us serious. I want teams to take us serious, and I want to like make our imprint in this league and taking advantage of these opportunities where the rest of your division is down, and not squandering it away with either really silly play calling or just straight up, the inability to close games out, beat teams you should beat. So good teams don't lose to the Bears, especially when the Bears are 4-8. So we need to fix that up and shore that up. But I'm not in panic mode yet. If we lose to the Broncos, my eyebrow will. If we lose to the Vikings and the Broncos, both of my eyebrows will raise, but I got a really good feeling that we can right the ship and we can start to do well. But let's get a few wins the rest of these these last 4 or 5 weeks of the year, and let's lock our spot into the playoffs and let's try to make something happen. I think these guys got to shake themselves off. They got to reset. They got to take a deep breath and go back into battle and just.
Yeah, I think one of the commenters makes a great point. This is my final thoughts. Now, he meant Ben. He says, "Open up the playbook, Ben." My thing about this is just flat out. You got to open up the playbook. I need to see more Jahmyr Gibbs. I need to see Jameson Williams get the ball. I need to see these guys that are difference makers get the ball, because I think that this offense has gone stale. I think this offense has become predictable. I think that this offense has become an indictment on Ben Johnson. And I'm not going to say it's an indictment on Jared Goff, because the offensive coordinator can make a good quarterback look bad. In the last couple weeks, I've seen some dumb calls from the offensive coordinator, including that stupid delay on 4th and 1, which is the dumbest freaking call of all time. Now, there's a chance to right the ship. You got 4 games left. You got 5 games, including the playoffs, and then you can keep moving on. This game is gonna be huge for this team to make an impact moving forward. So if I'm looking at this team, I'm looking at them and I'm going, this team can be legit. They got to make the plays. They got to be a difference maker. And Ben Johnson has to be the better coach, because he has not been the same Ben Johnson that we all expected and we have all seen. The same Ben Johnson that made these trick plays, these gadget plays. We're not seeing the same thing. So we need to see more of that. And I told you, me and Tyler were talking about it earlier, about the offensive stats. I need the drop percentage to get better. I need the time in the pocket to get better, and I need the pressures to get down, because the fact of the matter is this: if you don't fix this, you are not going anywhere in the playoffs. You're not going anywhere, because the fact of the matter is this: you are playing you're playing 3 teams, because you played Vikings twice, that can rush the passer. And this is a very key time for the Detroit Lions to make a deal and win these final 2. You clinch the division, and then you can get people back and get them healthy. That's what I look at. And Tyler left a little bit early, but it was great doing the show with Tyler. It was great for you guys to watch. Thank you for watching, and thanks to everyone that was watching. We'll see you on the next podcast. I'll be doing my game day preview this week, so stay tuned for that. It'll be on Between the Whistles Detroit YouTube page. And then, look, we got a big game coming up, and my guy Mayock says right now needs to get back soon. Hopefully Decker plays. I don't know. I think Decker's hurt. The way he's been playing the last couple of weeks has been absolutely brutal. But we will see you guys in the next podcast. I'll see you in the next video. We'll have some more content coming your way. So subscribe to Between the Whistles on Between the Whistles Detroit on the YouTube page. There'll be a lot of Red Wings content, Lions content, Pistons content, which Pistons suck. But Tigers, Michigan State. So stay tuned for that. And we'll see you on another episode of the Between the Whistles Detroit Lions News podcast on Detroit Lions News podcast. See you soon, guys.